Hey, YouTube. Bear with me. Getting Instagram on. Boy, do we have some questions today. All right, let's get on. Hey, clutter-free family. Let's get into our clarity hotline. What questions came through for us right now? Am I supposed to share this? Yeah. Share to, oh no, I don't know. I don't know how people like, anyway. Okay. You know, people share their lives. I don't know if they're sharing it to everybody or what. If you know, tell me. But I don't see how to share it like just to your whole audience at once. So we're not going to worry about that. Anywho, it is a nice hot scorcher of a day in August over here. It's going to reach the 90s where I am, and it's like August. Hot girl summer. But, okay, sorry. I'm doing a lot on my laptop. Okay. So if you hear the fan, sorry. If you hear the fan, I just have to have the fan. And testing my sound. I'm still traumatized that my sound didn't make it onto one of my videos. And so I don't want that to happen again. Let's do it. Let me tell you the questions we have for this week. This week. One question is about my coaching program. And I did want to answer this one quickly because I am enrolling for it right now. So this one came on YouTube. So I'm also like giving a big shout out to all my YouTube comments. If you're asking a question on YouTube, I love it. Please ask me more questions because I'm just incentivizing more of that. And this is timely. So we'll answer that question. And then one question is about growing slowly and kind of some frustration there. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's just pause and breathe and be here. Wherever you are, you can breathe, right? You can drive and breathe. You can sit and breathe. You can close your eyes and breathe. Whatever you can do to get yourself centered, calm, grounded, connected to who you are, your source of clarity, all the better. Keep breathing. Remember to take a breath in and a long exhale out, however you want to breathe, until the load lifts, the tension loosens, and your body just kind of melts into the space. Then you kind of know, okay, you're accessing something here. You're accessing the truth of who you are. You're connecting with what's inside of you, what's internal. And that's where you're going to get all of your answers. Hooray. So you just want to check in, right, with that peace meter inside of you that, you know, when you hear something and it resonates, and it gives you peace about, okay, this is my next step. Tap into that and take some action. That is the best time to take action, is when you're really clear, calm, cool, collected, and you're connected to, you know, purpose and truth and what makes you happy. You want to live from that place, right? And so that's the best time to make your biggest moves, your boldest moves, your scariest moves. Sometimes I just kind of take a big breath in, big breath out before I like speak. My family knows I do that. Not everybody in the world knows I do that. But sometimes I just, as weird as it looks, I need to do it, you know, to like, okay, hold on. I want to come from a place of honesty and transparency and truth and love. Okay. I got to calm and center myself. I need it. I need that state change. If I'm coming from a super anxious place and I don't want to take my anxiety out on my family, I need to take a big breath in. And sometimes I'll take a big breath in when somebody in my family is having a meltdown. My toddler, if they're having a meltdown, I want to be the example of breathing to center and calm and connect with the person, look them in the eye, see that they're frustrated. It brings their guard down because it sees that they see me as vulnerable. I also need a breath. Maybe it inspires them to take a breath. And then I can not come from a place that just was stressed out a second ago. I'm now the calm centered parent. And that is where I want to come from when I respond to them, especially in light of a meltdown. I want to come and be where they're at. I want to meet them where they are. I don't need them to come up to where I am. I know better. I've lived longer. I know what works and they don't yet. And so I need to set that example. I need to set the tone and let them know that they're safe here, they're protected. And I know I'm going a lot into this. It's because this is the state change necessary to get into your most profound work, your deepest work. And I will let you know, hi, for anyone who hasn't met me, I'm the declutterist, Yvette. Call me Yvette. My name's Yvette. Wow, we're really new. Are we just, we haven't met? So I am a business mentor, especially for moms, especially for moms turned entrepreneur, especially for entrepreneur turned mom, in the way that they're pivoting to a more simple life. They want more time for their kids. They don't want the hustle of the business they've already started and maybe the business they've quit. So they're pivoting. They might maybe want to pick it back up or just pick up business in general and start again, but then that's a new business. So, but however, I'm entering the lives of my client, it's typically at that. It's at that point where I'm doing a lot of the heavy coaching. So however you found me is how you found me, but maybe how we work together is probably in one of those realms if we're working together. Hi. And this actually is a good segue into our question today. So I won't go into a lot of what I want to say about that, but I will say what I'm trying to say is that we do our greatest work. I'm speaking to content creators, influencers, podcasters, bloggers, authors, YouTubers, content creators, people who use their own intellectual property to make something from nothing. I'm talking to you. And this does tie into two of the questions, because one question is about my coaching packages. One question is just about business. And the answer has to do with how you want to grow your business, where you want to take it next. And so I will save more on that for answering those questions. But we want to get into a state change. And in order to get into our most inspired workflow, which if you are a content creator, you need to be really inspired to not burn out. You need to make time to connect to your creative space. So you need time, you need to carve that time out to make sure your craft is taken care of. And you are the craft. You are the breadwinner, right? In this business, you are churning the content out until, you have like an internal process or framework that makes it so that you can hire somebody else to help you. I think I need to lower this some. Yeah, so that you can hire somebody else to help you execute on maybe promoting your stuff, doing some behind the scenes work, also maybe repurposing of content, things like that. So those things don't need you as much once you have like a nice little workflow. Oh man, that brings me to another point. So when it comes to hiring, we've talked about hiring in the past. When we've talked about hiring in previous Clarity Hotlines, and I even talk about it a little bit on the channel just with some of my topic-driven videos. And it has to do with hiring and the first person to hire, right? The first thing to hire. This ties into that because who you hire or the tech you hire, not just people, team, but tech too. Um, where am I going with this? Oh, so many ways, so many directions. You want to alleviate the biggest bottleneck between you and doing your most inspired work. And that would be how you hire, your first hire out. It's like, that's why, I mean, is anyone else inspired by AI? I'm really inspired by AI. I know I talked before about how it's a little scary, so definitely use it with caution. Don't put your personal information where you live into the AI ether, because it's going to be part of what is stored for data and regurgitation in someone else's replies. I don't know. Anyway, it's just going to be more easily searchable. Everything you put into AI, it will one day make it into the algorithm at large, right? The World Wide Web. So just be careful what you put in there, especially if it's not behind a password wall. Anyway, I'm inspired by AI, not just because I love the art that it creates. I mean, we talked about the deepfake ads. It's pretty impressive. The fact that it can generate images of you. I mean, on Messenger, I think, and you can generate an AI version of you and say hi to your friends and send happy birthday telegrams and stuff like that. It's like so much is that AI is doing. It's just, I mean, it's freaking incredible. I have not geeked out on it. I've not gone down the rabbit hole of AI. Where I'm most inspired to spend my time, and I haven't even carved out time for this even, but this is where I'm most inspired because I'm already using it in this way, is the way it's making us more efficient. So it is lightening so much of our workflow. So we can hire tech sooner. And when it comes to hiring out, you want to give yourself more time, or you want to give the stuff that where you're the bottleneck. Maybe it's not your strength. It's not what you want to do. You want to hire out your bottlenecks. Okay. So we're alleviating the distance, or we're alleviating the hurdles we need to cross to do our most inspired work. That's where AI comes in. And so when you find the right tools, then it's money, because it's just like, oh, this is going to help me so much. It took off it really shaved 8 hours of my workflow to execute on my simplest product, my simplest funnel, my simplest way to cash. It's helping me get there faster. It's helping me get there smoother, helping me get there easier with less burden on myself. So my workflow needs less of me, right? My operations need less of me, and I can focus on being, I don't know, putting out more content, right? Because I'm talking to content creators. And as the content creator, you are the talent. You need to be able to, do what you do. And as you start to build this empire, start to incorporate more of what you do, right? More of who you are and what you love to do, right? And so you want to make sure you're making time for that. However, when you're hiring out, make sure that you are keeping the time in your workflow for the thing that you were the bottleneck of. Now you're keeping that little hour here and there to review the work of who you hired. You've got to make sure that your tech is executing well, your team is executing well, or the truth is you haven't truly handed it off. You haven't really, truly given the work, the mental load off to someone else. You haven't entrusted the job to someone else who can do it as good as you or better. And then you're still a bottleneck, because one day, years down the line, you're still kind of in the review process, so heavy, so thick, that because you haven't really entrusted them with it. So you're not giving that person, that tech, whatever, the autonomy, because you never really spent the time to review the workload being done. And notice when you give yourself the time and you don't immediately fill the space where you were doing the work, the tedious work, with something else that you'd rather do, you take the time, maybe a week or two to a month at least, where you're actually still carving out that hour to review the work or walk them through the work or tell them what isn't exactly working. You want to make sure that they're really wholly bought in on this process and they're doing it to the best of their ability in alignment with your vision for this role, and ultimately for the mission of the business. You want to make sure that they're really aligned with that. The sooner you fill your time with something else and you don't give yourself the review period, the steady review period in the transition, because you'll probably still want to review as CEO your people, but there might be like just like a status meeting, like, hey, how are you doing on that? Okay, great. We're still on track. Okay, great. And then, you've got your semifinal and final round. Anyway, but you're not doing all, draft 1 through 20 with them. They're doing it. And maybe there's not even that many drafts necessary to get to the final stage. So, see what I'm saying? Like, all this stuff is part of your operations that you don't want to just completely abandon, because it's just going to get really messy really fast. And you're going to find yourself in your overhead. So, and really, honestly, is that where that comes from? It's like everything that's just like, you don't need to have it. It's part of your mental load, but it's part of the business's mental load. It doesn't have to be part of your mental load. Okay, hold on. Let me backtrack to what I was saying. I told you these questions had so much, I don't know, depth, nuance. I don't know. Business is deep, and I can't express that enough. There's so much that goes into it. Anyway, what I wanted to say most about the moral of this story is, when it comes to hiring, is don't immediately fill your time before you fully transitioned that work off your plate. So consider it still on your plate until it's fully transitioned onto somebody else's plate and you love their work. You're just, okay, we're vibing. It's good. It's good. This is a good working relationship. Okay, so I'll get off that topic and get onto our questions. Okay. And I don't even honestly know why that question came up, but I will say this. I am inspired by AI. I think it's very cool. And as much as you can, consider it your friend. Consider it, your a teammate. And you get the products, the apps that help you be more efficient in your business. Start with those. And then I think you'll be sitting pretty. Okay, so this comes from a YouTuber. Thanks again for commenting and asking this question, Greer. I'm not able to do, okay, so this is a question about my program. So I'm not able to do the Leap to Launch Accelerator. As you know, I'm enrolling for seats right now, the Leap to Launch Accelerator, the link below. I'm not able to do Leap to Launch Accelerator because of the price. Do you have any coaching packages that are less expensive? No, I don't have any coaching packages that are less expensive, because this is really this is the only way I'm working with clients right now. And honestly, I can't see offering coaching any less expensive than what it is. And that's not even my mastermind, where I'm really, really getting it in with mentoring. That's even pricier. And I just can't see, offering that for less expensive, because for a less expensive price point, because of the amount of work that is involved. But I will tell you, there are things that you could get from me that are out there. I mean, the YouTube channel is a great start to get free content. I think that's why I do have so much free stuff out there, or I have free stuff, the blog and YouTube. I also have, a book. So I don't know. I know that's not free, but I have less expensive options. Let's just say that for getting started in my world, in my thought process, and starting to adopt some of the way that you can approach business, do business differently, do business more simply. Um, and so that, and balancing your family and work life, doing that a little bit more um, enjoyably, I think, because it can get tough really fast. Um, Managing, like, work and home life, that is a big piece of my heart, as far as like just helping people through that hurdle, balancing business and babies, as I call it. And I can't see offering it for less than I do, because there's so much that we go into in the coaching, because business is deep. It's so much bigger than you think immediately starting out. There's a lot of offers out there that will teach you like a formula, like will teach you um, their framework, and they'll coach around that framework. And so they're kind of just like putting you into their own cog. Whereas my coaching is very much, I'm coaching you to build your own cog. And there's so much to do. There's so much in the way of you starting a successful business, like doubt and fear that get in the way. And if you're just learning someone else's framework as a way to like, just, okay, can I do this? You have questions around, can I do this? And so you buy, a nominally priced product or service, and or coaching around doing this one thing in business, maybe writing a book, maybe starting a blog, maybe because that's kind of like what you'd like to do, right? So you have clarity on what you want to do, and so you're getting help with building that out, right? Can I do this blog thing? Because that's a doubt question, right? Do I have what it takes? Will people buy from me? What am I going to sell? What am I going to sell that people will even think is worth the price? Doubt question. I'm scared to start. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a fish out of water. I really I don't want to find that I don't know what I'm doing and fall flat on my face. I don't want to find out that I'm not good enough. There's like so much trepidation and terror behind, especially for content creators, putting yourself out there, putting your work out there, putting your vulnerabilities out there, your thoughts, your beliefs, your opinions out there on the big stage. And those things come fast and furious. The complications, if you haven't yet sorted them out at the start of your business, and if you're kind of just like following the vehicle to make money for money's sake, and you're not building a vehicle that takes you to your dream destination, the vision for your life, you living your best life, the ultimate dream, right? If you're not building the vehicle there, and you're just kind of like, well, I just need this, like, if you are building for money's sake, like, how can I say this without getting in the way of some of the work we do? Okay. If you're doing it for the money, for money's sake, without considering the ultimate vision and breaking down, okay, well, I need this much money per month in order to quit my job. Let's say that is kind of where you're at. I need this much money per month in order to quit my job, and I'm going to start a business that gets me that much money, rather than knowing in order to quit your job, you need this much money. And I want to start a business that grows with me, that I love doing, that I'm inspired, that I wake up raring to go for, that really supports my lifestyle, how I want to live, and all that stuff, and has me thriving as a business owner. That takes a little bit more thought and soul searching and processing through some of the workflow lifestyle decisions you'll have to make when you are building out the business. And so you want to spend some time there, because I'll say this, like I started, I got the coach early on. I got the coach that taught me a framework and was teaching just like little hacks. Granted, I had a lot of clarity around how the hack would serve me in my business. So shout out to clarity work, okay? Because I always made it work for me. However, I will say this, I found a lot of my fellow mentees in that program were just kind of reaching at straws. Like they just weren't really sure what drawing for straws. They weren't really sure what they were doing. But they were teaching, the coaches in the program were teaching against a framework. And so their approach to some of the questions, the deeper business questions, weren't giving me the depth that I needed to go. It wasn't taking me where I needed to go. So instead I was blindsided by a lot of the hurdles that came up because I was just learning a framework for executing on, and I don't want to say too much because I'm not trying to put this coach down because I think he's brilliant and it's great strategy, and he seems like a good guy. I never really got to know him in the program, which is also kind of, maybe why it was affordable. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm not to say it took a lot of time and investment for me. And so this was like my route, my first coach, because I do believe get a coach. If you're in the coaching business, get a coach, be coached, be mentored, stay a student so that you can always be perfecting your craft. And this is part of the thing as you start to grow and you start to hire underneath you, you are being propped up further and further to then continue to work on your craft. And as you get better and better about your craft, then you start to get better and better about business, because then you start to get coached on the areas that you're not so good. If you start out hiring, okay, hold on. I want to get back to the question. I just want to give you some caution around, what you go after. Make sure you're really clear on what you're doing this business for. So your why and who you are to be doing this work. So your own story. And that really does fuel your why. Your own story, your own way through the problem you're here to solve in your content. Health, fitness, wealth, finance, spirituality, what's the other one? Why am I blanking? Anyway, so like what you're offering in those areas, okay? So like you want to make sure that you're connected to that mission, okay, for your business, and then everything's going to build from there. Everything you're going to start to see, especially if you start out really simply, you will find that okay, I'm starting to jump into this next question. You will find that not much is getting in your way, and it's easier to see who you need to hire. It's easier to see who you need to hire when the business is simple. The more complicated and more complex you have a business, the more you're going to struggle to find what you need. Because at some point you lost the thread, you lost the through line, you lost clarity from A to Z. Like you got distracted, and maybe, the through line broke. And so that is kind of, I believe, where you are a bottleneck. That's how you're a bottleneck. Okay, so let's get into the second question, because I think I will kind of round out your question, Greer. But I will say this just to kind of wrap up that question. I always like to wrap up a question. before going on to a new one. um, I the program is 3 months and it's intense. My mastermind is 12 months, it's also intense. And so you can imagine so much that goes on with you as a person, especially in a year's time, how much you're dodging complications. You're dodging complications, you're dodging fear, doubt, every level a new devil. And you want to maintain that through line. And a lot gets in the way. And you just want to make sure that you're really staying connected to the truth of your business, your mission, your why, your who, your what, and coming back to that. Okay, so I will wrap up and say that, but there are things that you can access on my website, on, anywhere you're finding me, that is less expensive, like, or free, like my newsletter, or if you're worried about a lot of the questions that I get initially from content creator moms is like scheduling, fitting it all in, right? Well, that's routine. I have something for $27 out there that you can look into, the Own Your Day Toolkit. And then also, when it comes to like just making sure you're starting out with the nuts and bolts of your business fully fleshed out, you're really getting clear on your mission, like we said, who, what, why. You are building kind of this, you're planning your business. So you're building a small little dream business plan. You can get the dream business planner for that. And so those are all like under $50. So I will say start there. And then when you're ready, you'll probably have a nice little place in the accelerator for where you've gotten your business to, after just doing that. Okay, so let's go to Alan's question. My business is growing slowly, and I know that's still progress. But how do you know if it's something, if you're in the way, if there's something wrong with me? No, I think a lot of people with something wrong with my strategy, I'm doing something wrong, or there's something wrong with me. So I think Alan's a content creator. So I think this is a good content creator question, because if you're growing slow, you do think something's wrong with me. What am I doing wrong? How am I in my own way of growth? And so I kind of came at this without knowing too much about the business direction and the vision for the business. I immediately wonder, why is it slow? Why is it slow? Like, what are you trying to do right now that has you wanting to go faster? Because that will determine why you're growing slow. Because if you're outspending your earning, then you're going to want to pay off debt faster. If you are wanting to quit your job, then you're going to want to be quitting sooner. So it's like all of and then so that means you've got to replace your income with this business until you want to grow faster. That doesn't mean the business should grow faster. It actually points to behavior. It points to you as really not clear on if it's the spending, if you're outspending more than you earn, and so you have to make more money so that you can pay off your debt or keep up with how much you want to spend in order to grow faster. Then you need to examine your vision for the business. So I want to get, from here to here in this amount of time. That means I've got to make this amount of money. That means I need this many customers. That if I break that down by day, I need this many customers per day. What am I doing to get that one customer per day? So see how you kind of have to break it down. What are you doing to get that one customer per day? If you have a side hustle and you're not really able to give it 40 hours per week, then, it probably will grow slow. But the thing is there's a different kind of approach to business if it's a side hustle alongside a 9 to 5 than it is your main hustle. It is 40 hours a week. You are able to give it that much time. There's a different approach, right? You, as a side hustle, you can pay yourself a little bit less. So maybe you don't need to grow as fast because you have a steady paycheck. And so you're just kind of giving yourself little things here and there to build your business. You're probably finding that you want to do the freelancer jobs, like build a website, make business cards, you know, build your branding out. Those are like freelancer tasks. And it's definitely not it's definitely not the way you would start a business, especially in content creation as an online entrepreneur. You want to start differently, right? If you're kind of just starting out in that game, unless you're fine with that, then just know that, you know, the website's not going to convert. You know, if you're okay with that, but you're preparing all the little pieces in order for when you do blow up, you know, it's all taken care of. I wish it were that easy, but there's like pieces that are missing in that plan. Versus if it's your main hustle, you have the 40 hours to give it, you're still wanting to work on the most important task, the most important thing. You still want to be focusing on what a CEO would be focusing on, and then carving out time for some of the freelancer tasks. But notice how where you're spending your time in the time that you give your business determines really how much you're paying yourself. And how much you're paying yourself also determines how fast you grow. Because how can I explain this? So how much you're paying yourself, or maybe you're not paying yourself and you're just reinvesting it in the business. What are you hiring out? There's so much that goes into knowing where to spend your time, because let's say you have your first customer, which is all the better. You have your first customer, you know the cost of goods sold at that point. You know how much it took to get that one customer. You want to know acquisition costs. You also want to know fulfillment costs. And I think in the beginning, you're going to be hiring out your first hire for efficiency and workflow and effectiveness in your fulfillment of the thing. You want to be closer and more efficient in fulfilling the product that they want. So that's why people love courses, building out courses, is because you do it once. And now it's just about fulfillment's easy, right? It's just, I just have to send them the file, or I have to send them the link, and it's already built out, and they can, and then that means, okay, that bottleneck is alleviated. I don't need to spend my time there. I can hire tech to fulfill on the password, provide them access, that kind of thing. Maybe there's a person also to handle customer support. So then, you know, you're kind of hiring there in tandem, those things. And that'll help you fulfill on making more money, right? And so see how when the fulfillment to the money coming in and the fulfillment of what they bought, the less friction there is there, the better. Because then that means, okay, now I can just double down on spending money on the fulfillment of this product. And that gives me more time to spend as talent, as content creator, coming up with ideas. Ideation is part of your workflow and should be really considered a cost, right? A labor cost. Researching, right? Getting into it, getting down the rabbit holes of what you want to write about, what you want to speak about. I would say this. Let me do this. So if I was to draw, let me just use a notepad. So when it comes to keeping business super simple, so I teach the I teach the minimalist business model framework. And if that's backward, I think that is backward for Instagram, but it's not for YouTube. I teach the minimalist business model. So self's on top, single focus is in the middle, and on the bottom is simple systems, steps, things like that. And so what you're going to do is plug in how you just, it's on the foundation of a very simple workflow, simple business. You are always top of mind. You're always priority. Make sure that you as content creator, you as really the thought leader of your business, of your content creation business, you are top of mind, right? You want to make sure that the rituals that keep you healthy and happy are still in place, even when you're making $1 million, and still in place when you're making $0. You want to make sure that this is never compromised, because the sooner you compromise on this, the sooner the business starts taking over your life, and the business is now running you instead of you running your business. So just, make sure that you factored that in. Now, the second one, let's say if I wanted to have a really simple business starting out, I would say, let's say you're a blogger. Okay, so you have your blog, maybe it goes to a paid newsletter, and ultimately you want to speak on stages. So your business is, I am a blogger on various topics. I mean, honestly, we can think about James Clear. He started as a blogger. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. He started as a blogger. He has a newsletter. I'm not sure if it's paid or not. And he has a book. So it might have been, I believe it's paid. Anyway, a newsletter, right? A way to build your list, get buy-in from people like, okay, I'm interested in hearing more from you, and I'm going to give you my email, or I'm going to give you $7 a month, whatever, paid newsletter. And then he's speaking on stages, right? He's speaking on virtual stages and physical stages as an author. And so, see, that's a very simple business. Okay, so if we keep our simple business, we're not abandoning the simplicity of just, this is how I make money, right? So this is my offers. This is how I'm making money. I would say the single point of focus for him is he's a writer. So writing, researching. Okay. And now when it comes to fulfilling on that, so he's a writer, he's writing, paid newsletter, simple tech to fulfill on his newsletter, and then speaking on stage. Maybe he's meeting people and he's going to eventually need an assistant to handle his booking calendar and things like that. So then we get team in there. Okay, so still very simple. And what keeps him top of mind is making sure that in these areas, he is able to perform at his best. If the single point of focus is writing, then he's got to be able to have a computer that works or a pen that works. He's got to, for his blog, make sure that his web host is paid up and current. His CRM, right? His email automation is current for sending out the paid newsletters, and he's on, paying that as his list grows. He's making sure that he's paying for where his subscribers live and get fulfilled on that newsletter. And then stages, maybe, all of the tech that I just mentioned for the writing serves also the booking, but just one more, the booking app, right? So Calendly or Time Tracker, I think, is one. I think Calendly is easy peasy. Just do that one. What's the other one? Affinity. I think as you start to grow in your bookings, then you can start to, get a fancier tech in place here. And then self would be, the rituals, the writing rituals. For him, it was, especially when he was writing his blog, just starting out, he had to make sure every single day he was writing. So every day writing ritual, every day ritual of writing, working on his craft. And what else? If you're a singer, that would be maintaining your vocal cords, maybe doing voice lessons, maybe practicing on your notes, and drinking lemon water with honey every morning, things like that, right? So making sure that this is never compromised. Celebrities make, working out at the gym every day a thing, right? And we all should. But I'm saying, like, actors would probably be preparing for their role, right? So, or preparing for their next press junket. So they are being styled, they are working out, they want to look their best and feel their best on the red carpet. All of that goes into protecting self and keeping self top of mind. And notice, like, yeah, the more money you get, the more you're starting to put into all of these layers of your business. Okay, why do I bring this up? The reason I bring this up is, one, there's a deeper side of business, especially when you're factoring in yourself as top priority. There's a deeper side of business because you're thinking that, oh yeah, it's just a blog. Well, it's not just a blog business. It's me moving through my thoughts. It's me working through my own fears of being on stage, right? In order for James Clear to be on stage, he had to cross the hurdle of public speaking, right? He had to cross that mental hurdle if that was ever in his way. So see how every level, new devil. So it's like, as you're starting to put yourself out there as a content creator, and you will put yourself out there as a content creator more and more as you reach these new heights. And his business, so we're using James Clear as an example, his business, a book business, let's call it, or a blog-based business, then, his is super simple. And maybe he didn't want the limelight at first, but the opportunity started coming to be interviewed, have a master class, things like that started to be presented to him. And he's like, okay, yeah, let me step into this, because this is absolutely one notch on the belt of my vision, the vision for my life, right? I'm just more notches on my belt, the better, because I am, building this legacy, this life, right? And not everybody wants a limelight. Other people would have turned down the opportunity to be on masterclass or have a TED Talk or be on Oprah. They would have turned it down because they don't want to be on Oprah. But some of us do want to be on Oprah. Some of us want to meet, whatever, rub elbows with Warren Buffett. It's like, see how it's kind of, you've got to know the vision for your life first. And then it's like business factors into you getting there as a vehicle of you living your best life. It's you as having the vehicle to live your best life. And I think when we're worried about how slow we're growing in business, is we are just trying to alleviate some of the pain that we've created for ourselves. So if you are, if you feel like the pain for you right now is going to a 9 to 5, then you are more incentivized to want to be able to sleep in and wake up when you want to, and be working on your passion projects every single day, where work doesn't feel like work is play, and I'm super excited about doing this, right? Or I've got my kids at home and I need to make time around homeschooling them, or they're littles and they're home because they're not in daycare or school. They're with me where I want them, right? I've got to be building a business in the time I have around those most important things, right? I know my priority is my kids all the time. And while my kids are at home and they're my priority, then a bigger chunk of my day goes to my kids. When they start school, then less of my day goes toward the priority of being there for them and their needs all day, every day, because they're in school. So then I have more time to devote to my business and growing my business. The more we try to, I think we try to make money faster because we want to alleviate some of the pain that we feel. And we think money is going to fix it. And I think that's why people say money makes you more of what you already are, because how you're spending your money is a sign of your values, and if you've got a big vision, and I'm even just going to put it like this. You've got a big vision for your trip next year with your family, your summer vacation. You're probably going to buy tickets for that destination as soon as tickets go on sale because you're committed to making it happen. And if you're budgeting and you're just using cash and not credit, you want to pay cash for that summer trip. And that means you're putting away money. And by putting away money, that means you're not spending it in other things that don't matter, right? And you have a bigger vision than, oh yeah, I'm just going to put money here and there, and I'm saving up for this trip, right? And so it's going to take my attention from other things because I've got this single point of focus. I'm going to make sure that I have the money to go on this extravagant trip. And then that becomes like, all the wills in your thought process go toward fulfilling on you having that trip. It doesn't make you different. It just kind of brings to light some of how you spend your money, where your values are, where your priorities are, and really how you back that up. Because if anything is a show of success, it's money. If anything is a show of we've got it all together and I'm confident in this regard, it's money, right? It's like it's the most outward expression to the world because we exchange things for money and buy things, right? We adorn ourselves, we acquire things in order to feel better about ourselves. And so as we're acquiring these things, it's like that's why money is such a show of success. And as is maybe fame, it's like that's a show of success for people who go become actors. They want that. Their ultimate show of success is I am a working actor. I'm working every day, or I'm Julia Roberts level in being able to, earn, I don't know, honestly, what she's paid, 40 million a picture. I don't know. And that's 6 months of her life. 6 months of her life, she makes 40 mil on that versus, a working actor on a sitcom, and they're, I don't know, making, honestly, I don't know numbers, but let's say they make 20K a month. And until it starts to grow like Friends, right? They were demanding $1 million per episode, I think, and that's why Friends ended. I don't know. But there's like, that little rumor going around that they were all kind of demanding. And they did. They got more and more each season because it was a proven concept. People love Friends. They got paid more and more. And as you become coveted in your field, you can charge more. So notice how they all worked on their craft to the extent they wanted to be known for their craft and valued and respected for their craft. Anyway, I would say work on your vision. And Alan, if you have like a follow-up question, let me know. But work on your vision so that you aren't distracted on other things. Like if you think your business is growing slowly, are there any distractions? I really want to ask you a couple questions, actually. If you think your business is growing slowly, my question is to you, how much are you spending to run your business? How much do you need from your business to live the life you want to live? Okay, so get clear on that number. And what are the bare essentials of your business expenses? And when we think of business expenses, if you are a content creator, so you're a content creator, course creator, influencer, podcaster, blogger, YouTuber, coach, and you're offering a product or service, what are the costs to fulfill on that service? Okay, so consider your time too. And then what are the direct labor costs in creating the product or service. So that's kind of like two angles, two kind of not, they don't diverge. It's like they work in tandem. But just know that. And if you're spending money on ads, what's your ROAS? But it's kind of like if you did have a product-based business, like you were selling jewelry, then you would want to know cost of goods sold, manufacturing, all that. As a content creator, we still have cost of goods sold, we still have ROAS, we still have fulfillment costs and things like that. So understand what your numbers are for your business. And the more you know that, you understand kind of like, well, what am I doing? And how I'm spending, is it matching my values? Where is it representative of the vision I have for my business? Because I think once you get clear on that, you're going to see that, okay, well, yeah, my values do align with my vision. Where I'm spending my money does align with me getting there. And then I think if you're clear on that, your business won't be growing slowly. It'll be growing strategically, and you'll be putting one foot in front of the other in a very strategic, efficient way. And I mean, the windfall of income can happen for you if you're putting kind of if you're laying the right foundation now, as if it's a side hustle, if you're laying the right foundation, then you'll know that there's kind of that tipping point where, okay, I can quit because I'm making this amount of money. So I would say, why is it growing slowly? Is it because you're paying more than it's earning? Because money is, I don't mean time for money. I don't mean you're trading hours for dollars. Your business is always earning, just like investments earn and work on your behalf without you. They're earning an APY. They're earning interest. So you think about it that way, just like debt is accruing interest, right? And costing us more than the sticker price on the thing we bought. If we're letting it sit on a credit card and sitting in debt, it's costing us more to have bought that thing. Same thing for, your money earning, your work earning a wage, right? A return on it being produced, it serving an audience and things like that. So I would say, if after you answer those questions, is it in fact growing slowly, or is it actually growing right on time? Yeah, I think, because I mean, I know we're at time. I just wanted to make sure I wrap that up. Yeah, I think that's a good stopping point. If you have any follow-up questions, let me know in the comments. Send me an email, however you like to reach out to me. And I will see you next Thursday on the next Clarity Hotline, 12 noon Pacific. If you're interested in any of my programs, I'll put the link for my Leap to Launch Accelerator, how I'm working with clients right now. I also have a mastermind program that's application required. So if you have an interest in that, just email me. But I'll put the link to check out the Leap to Launch Accelerator if you're interested. And predominantly what I'm serving in there are content creator moms turned entrepreneur turned mom. And you really just want to build your workflow, your lifestyle around being there with your kids, right? Where at whatever age, whatever stage, whatever you want to make sure they are serving your ultimate vision, your purpose, priority, that kind of thing. You're pretty much building a business that works within the life you want to live. That is really who that program is serving. And so those are the ways that you can work with me. Thanks for everyone's question. And that's a wrap. All right. Peace. Get off YouTube. And